Alright, hey guys, welcome back to another video. Bit of a different one here for you today because it's a video that's more so about me and my health and less so about talking about games. I know, crazy. This video may come as a bit of a shocker to those of you that didn't see my community posts from a couple of weeks ago. It's a feature that I don't use often, so I don't blame you. But for those of you that are unaware, and I promised this health update video, and I had a lot of people asking me in my stream yesterday to also make a video because not everybody will catch the live stream, which is understandable. So I'm making the video now. But for those that are unaware, a couple weeks ago on May 7th, I suffered a massive heart attack. Not just your everyday, oh, you had a little heart attack and you find out like the week after. This was a serious, very serious heart attack, and I'll explain what kind of heart attack it was. I'm going to do a bit of a brief recap on it. I'm not going to go into all the details and everything like I did in the live stream. If you're curious about that, you can check out my live stream from yesterday, my eBay game hunting stream. I have a timestamp where you can listen to me explain everything in much more detail. But I wanted to make this video because I know a lot of you, I can see the analytics, I can see that a lot of you are the same age as me, and I know a lot of you are probably like, whoa, like, wait, a heart attack? I am 37. I never smoke, never drink, never have, never will. So that was not a factor. Um, and yes, I had a massive heart attack at 37, which is very, very unusual. But I wanted this to sort of be a wake up call to those of you that may also live a very reckless lifestyle when it comes to your eating habits, your exercise, or any other things that may be going on in your life where you just, you know that you can do better. I wanted to make this video to especially wake a lot of people up because there were a lot of people in the live stream that were like, you know what? I'm going to starting today or starting tomorrow. I'm going to start eating better. I'm going to get more exercise because, a lot of us, we think of heart attacks as something that only happens to people when they get a bit older or people that have like serious health complications. But it happened to me. So, how did it happen? I don't want to waste too much time here. How did this happen? Uh, I'm still kind of unsure, and I think the doctors are still kind of unsure, like what really caused this. I don't have any major history in my family on either side with like heart issues. A little bit on my dad's side, but like no heart attacks, nothing crazy. Was I eating unhealthy for the past few years? Yes. I mean, I used to eat quite healthy. I was on a pretty good diet. Actually, the diet that I'm on now, I was on it for quite a while. And of course, like a lot of people during 2020, we like relapsed. We got really lazy about eating food. And, hey, I got back into getting takeout. I got back into eating, some fast food. It's not like I was eating McDonald's every day or anything, but yes, I guess, the way food works now is it was very easy for a lot of processed foods to sneak in that sugar, tons of sodium without even realizing it. And I guess that paired with the fact that I wasn't as active as I was a few years ago, I don't know, I guess it was just like this weird thing of the stars aligning because what ended up happening was I'm going to actually just read you the description here because this Google description here will do a much better job than I can describing what kind of heart attack this was. So the I'm going to read off a script little thing here just so you guys know. The LAD artery, or the left anterior descending artery, is a crucial branch of the left coronary artery that supplies blood to the front and sides of the heart muscle, including the anterior wall of the left ventricle. It's often called the widowmaker due to the high risk of sudden cardiac death associated with a blockage in this artery. My blockage was also 100% blocked. So that means blood flow completely cut off. That section of the heart was just not even beating, not even moving. So, how did this happen? How did I know I was having a heart attack? And how did I end up saving my life? Because it was very close to being no more, to say the least. It was a night I was getting ready to stream. It was like 8:30 at night, and I started getting back pains. I get back pains a lot. It is what it is. I got like arthritis in my back, so I was just like, oh, here we go, another night of back pain. It was one of the atypical back pains, though. It was in the top middle of my back, and I've had this back pain before, but I didn't think too much of it. Um, who knows? Maybe apparently back pain is typically tied to happening right before a heart attack, but I had felt this specific type of back pain before. So I'm assuming it is tied to the heart attack, but it is a warning sign to keep out an eye out for. I don't want everybody panicking every time you get back pain to think, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. But it is one of the warning signs that can happen immediately before a heart attack. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go for a walk, because typically what I will do when I get back pain is I'll try and go for a walk, just get my back moving, get my spinal fluids flowing, I guess. And as soon as I started taking the walk, I suddenly started getting tightening in my chest. And it was a weird pain. I had never really felt this before. And a lot of people said to me, okay, so like, what are the warning signs? Because some people were like, sometimes I get anxiety, I get tightening in the chest, and I don't have those kind of symptoms or those kinds of like, I don't get anxiety and get tightening in the chest, so I can't say what that feels like. But what I will say is, if you typically do get some form of tightening in the chest, or something that happens in your chest area when you have other symptoms of other conditions, this will probably not feel like it normally does for you. This was a type of tightening and pain that I had never felt before, and there are a lot of other symptoms that go along with it. I didn't get all of them, but you can get nausea, you can get dizziness, you can sweat, you can just flat out faint. But it will also typically travel into other parts of your body. So for me, it traveled. Well, let's get to it. So I start going for my walk. I start getting tightening in the chest. To me, I don't think heart attack, right? Who thinks heart attack at 37 years old? Not me. I was just like, oh, it must just be, I must have pulled a muscle. And now it's traveling from my back into my chest. Hey, it could probably happen. Maybe I twisted the wrong way. I start walking, get about 100 steps. I know it's about 100 steps because I've actually walked the path where this all occurred several times already since I've been home. Count the steps and recount that day over and over. So about 100 steps in, it starts to get even worse. I start to feel pain in my left arm and somewhat in my right arm. And then I also, once I got about 200 steps in, rounded a corner, around the block, my jaw, my left jaw, started to also feel pain. And for a moment, I thought to myself, this might be a heart attack, because I know heart, left side of body, pain in my left arm, pain in my left jaw. I'm like, is this a heart attack? But I still, like, you just don't fully process and conceive that that's what could be going on. Um, I made a crucial decision after I got about 200 steps, a few minutes walking, 250 steps. I was going to press on and keep walking. I was like, you know what, maybe I just got to keep walking, loosen the muscles or something. But the pain was so bad and unusual, and the symptoms were so unusual, I made a crucial decision to turn around and head back home. I did not have a phone on me. I didn't have a cell phone on me. Um, and that decision to turn around saved my life, because this particular type of heart attack, as I mentioned before, the most crucial artery in your heart, known as the Widowmaker heart attack, you have a window of about 60 minutes, at most 90 minutes. If you are not in the hospital being treated and on the operating room table to get your heart unblocked, the artery unblocked, you will just pretty much die. The survival rate, once you reach the 60-minute mark, based on what I looked up when I got home, I did not want to look these things up while I was in the hospital. It's too stressful. But it goes from, like, if you get in immediately, or if it happens while you're in the hospital, you have like a 90% survival rate. Pretty good, right? Not bad. 90 to 97%, pretty good. But once you reach that 1 hour mark, the survival rate apparently can drop as low as 12%, which is like, you're pretty much as good as probably dead at that point. That is extremely low chances. Believe me, I played enough video games to know that a 12% chance, like, you're probably you're probably not making it out of that. So thankfully, in that moment where I chose to turn around, go back home, that saved my life right there. Because who knows, if I would have kept walking, I could be stubborn. Who knows in that moment if I would have went up to a stranger's house and said, hey, I need you to call 911 for me. I'm not sure what's going on. I think I'm having a heart attack. I probably would have just pressed through the pain and tried to come around the neighborhood, which, with the rate that I was walking and how long it would normally, like, that would have been a 15, 20 minute, 25-minute walk easily. I wouldn't have made it. By the time I would have got to the hospital, even if I made it back, it would have been too late. So, crucial decision was made in that moment. I get back home and I made another crucial decision. At first, I was like, you know what? Maybe I should just go lay down. maybe this will pass. I'll just take some water. I'll take an Advil. I didn't have any like chewable aspirin or anything like that. But something just told me to get on my iPad. I went on Grok. I asked the AI on there. I told it my symptoms. And if you've ever used Grok before, you know that thing is it's very wordy. It tends to spit out many, many, many paragraphs. And in this case, it just gave me a few sentences. First time I'd ever seen it do that. Very brief in this instance. And that was good because it knew I didn't have a lot of time. It said, "This is urgent. This is an emergency, and you need to immediately get medical attention." So I did. I went to the hospital. Thankfully, hospital is only a few minutes away from where I live. Get to the hospital, and they started, monitoring my heart, and they said it's a STEMI. STEMI means that I didn't know at the time, but the nurses there looked they were like, "Oh," I saw their faces and their reaction, and I'm like, "Oh God, this cannot be good." And sure enough, STEMI means you have a complete blockage of one of your arteries in your heart, and you are having a massive heart attack. So from the moment that I stepped out of my house and started walking and started getting the chest pain, the heart attack had commenced. So the clock was ticking at that point. And at any moment, it doesn't even have to be the 60-minute mark. At any moment, it is actually very likely with this heart attack to go into sudden cardiac arrest, which means that your heart stops and you just fall to the ground and pass out. And unless somebody finds you immediately laying on the ground, or you get immediate attention in a hospital, you're probably dead. They'd have to revive you, and we don't. Thankfully, it did not come down to that, but the chance of that happening is quite high. I do remember there was somebody on a walk with their dog that I passed by on the way home, and on the way home walking, I was just like holding hand on my chest the whole time. And I remember thinking to myself, man, if I at least would have fell and passed out, at least that person probably would have saw me, and I would hope would have called 911. But so they get me in, and they immediately, like, it's just like a whirlwind after this. It's hard to remember everything that was happening. It was just tons of people coming in and out, doctors, nurses, putting IVs in me, asking me a lot of questions, trying to keep me conscious, making sure that I'm still alert and aware. Um, I was asked a lot if I smoked and drank. Thankfully, I did not, which obviously can really complicate this, especially if you smoke. Your chances of survival drop a lot. Um, Within about 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, I don't know, it was a blur. They had me on the operating room table, and they also gave me morphine. And after they gave me the shot of morphine, I was like, when is this supposed to take effect? Because my pain level was still like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10 at that point. Um, and they were like, it should take place in a couple minutes. Oh, apparently I got my stream notifications on still. Thank you to whoever subscribing on Twitch. I appreciate that. They get a little cameo in the video. So yeah, the morphine, I didn't feel it, just to give you an idea of how painful it was. And they apparently gave me a second shot on the operating room table. I don't think it helped much because I was still able to feel pretty much everything that was going on the operating room table. So what ended up happening is they go through my wrist. The mark is almost gone. You can't really even see it anymore, but there's a little tiny mark here on my wrist. It was more pronounced, obviously, a couple weeks ago. Also, I bruise very easily. I'm on blood thinners. That happened in the hospital. Don't even know where that came from. But my arms have really cleared up a lot. They were taking blood constantly and IVs. And yeah, I was pretty bruised up with a lot of marks, but I'm clearing up, which is good. But yeah, they go up through your wrist, and then they go up through this way with a catheter, and then it goes to your heart. They can see it on a monitor. I'm pretty sure I could have watched it if I wanted to, but yeah, that was not happening. I just kept my eyes closed the whole time. I tried to stay calm, had my eyes closed as much as possible, and just breathe in through my nose, out through my mouth, because I knew that I had to try my best to stay calm and keep my heart rate under control. And then what they do is they go in with the catheter, and there's a stent. Stent is like a mesh, a wire mesh that is wrapped around the catheter, long tube, goes up to your heart, goes to the artery. They push it through the blockage, which is not, I'm assuming not easy with 100% blockage. Typically, they're doing this before an artery gets 100% blocked. They pushed it into the blockage. The balloon on the catheter expands, the mesh expands, it pushes the plaque, which was blocking the artery, up against the artery wall, and then they take the catheter out, it deflates, and then it frees up the blood flow. And I was able to see a video of this, of the artery refilling with the blood and seeing the heart once again eventually functioning. I say eventually functioning because, it takes a little bit of time to, I'm sure, for the heart to like fully get back up to full capacity, because I had to undergo this surgery a second time. What ended up happening was, typically when you get surgery for heart attack like I had, you're actually out of the hospital fairly quickly, a day or two. You're in the ICU for a day, they put you in step down, and you're out. For me, that's not how it went. So the complications that I mentioned in my post were real, because what happened was my heart rate and my blood pressure never stabilized for days. So my resting heart rate, even when I was like sleeping, was like 135 beats per minute. A normal resting heart rate is like 60 to 100, to give you an idea. And for my blood pressure, when I first got out of the operation, it was extremely high. I'm not an expert on blood pressure, but there were times where it was like 160 over like 110 or something. Like, it was crazy. 140 over like 100, 110. Like, it would fluctuate a lot, but it was really bad, and it was very high. And then there was, obviously they're trying to play around with the medication, trying to figure out like how to lower this. I was on a lot of stuff, IV medications, tons of stuff, and also on antibiotics, because apparently they detected pneumonia, early stages in my lungs. So they had me on like 3 different antibiotics, which was killing my stomach, probably adding to my heart rate and my blood pressure, because like the discomfort from that was like extreme. So, by them playing around with the medications, my blood pressure eventually dropped really low. We're talking like, there was a night, it was taking my blood pressure every 30 minutes. So I could not even try and get more than 30 minutes of sleep, because every 30 minutes it would take my blood pressure automatically. And there was a night, I remember every time I took my blood pressure, I'd look at the machine, and one night it was like 60 over 40. And I called the nurse. I'm like, this is not good, is it? She's like, no, that isn't. You know, and pretty much the next day after that, I think they may have tried like maybe one more day of seeing what they could do for my blood pressure. But I think by like the third or fourth day, they were like, okay, this is pretty serious. And they decided to put me back into the same surgery I had when I first came in. This time, instead of going up through my wrist, they went up through my groin. A bit more painful that way, obviously, especially when they take that thing out. I was like slightly sedated. You are conscious during all of this. So they go up through the groin, major artery, bigger artery, and then up to the chest again. And this time they just did it to check and monitor. They did go up there with the catheter again, just in case they had to like replace the stent or move it, and just make sure everything was working okay. And every time they do this, they inject the dye into your body, which that's not good to have done too many times. I had it done like 3 or 4 times while I was there. And everything was good, thankfully, because it was scary. I heard a doctor talking about like a potential aneurysm in the heart, and that was like, oh my God, like about to give me a second heart attack. There was also talk about a blood clot in my heart, which they were actually giving me stuff for, but it turned out that it maybe wasn't a blood clot, or the stuff they were giving me dissipated it. All kinds of scares while I was in there, to say the least. The last thing you want to hear is that you have an aneurysm in your heart. That's definitely not good. But that thankfully was not true. But they were, being cautious, being safe. And eventually, after a couple more days, my heart rate never really like fully returned to normal. It was still like 100, 110. Sometimes it would drop down to like 90s. But that was good enough. That was better than the 135s. And after spending like 6 or 7 days in ICU, I got stepped down into a normal room. And then right after that, I spent one torturous night in the step down room. And then I was sent home after that. So that was the experience. And I really hope that like hearing this makes some of you very aware of the symptoms. So if you have family members, or even yourself, if somebody in your family is ever complaining of chest pains or really bad tightening of the chest, especially if it's accompanied by back pain, be sure to ask them if they have symptoms of arm pain, jaw pain, um, sweating, nausea. I mean, I would really play it safe. Back pain, okay, everybody gets back pain. Don't worry too much about that. But if you're the type of person that never gets chest pain and you suddenly get chest pain, especially if you find yourself like winded, short of breath, like waste no time, get into the hospital immediately, especially if you live decently far away, especially if you're the type of person that doesn't get checked up. One of my biggest mistakes was that I'm not a big doctor person. I don't get normal, regular checkups. I always just like put it off, put it off, put it off. Um, so could this have been prevented? I'm absolutely sure it could have. But we're not going to dwell on the past. We're just going to look towards the future and ways to do things better. I'm already feeling so much better now that I'm home. I'm trying to get in 15 to 20-minute walks, trying for twice a day right now, or at least one like 25 to 30-minute walk, but I can't push things because even after my walks, I'm still getting tired. And it's important that I don't push things too far. So it's probably going to take like 2 to 3 months, I would imagine, before I start getting full stamina back to do walks without getting exhausted after I get back. Um, and who knows how long until I'm fully myself again. But I'm happy because this happened at like an opportune time. This could have happened while I wasn't by my house. It could have happened while I like to go on nature walks. Those of you that are members on my channel, you know that I go on my little walks out in the middle of the woods, which can be a bit secluded, and there I can be miles and miles away from people and my car, and yeah, it could have been very bad. If this would have happened on one of my nature walks, I don't think I would have made it. It could have even taken someone 10 or 15 minutes to find me if something had happened in the middle of the woods. It could have happened while I was in my bed sleeping. If I was sleeping, I probably would have been like, oh man, what's going on? Like, it would wake me up. I'd be like, oh, hope this passes. And I'd probably lay there for like 5 or 10 minutes, like just hoping, like, oh, come on, what's going on here? Would I be inclined to get up and walk? And I don't know. So the fact that like it happened when it did, how it did, where it did, at the age that it did was pretty, probably pretty fortunate, because if this would have happened 15, 20 years from now, maybe the result would not have been the same, because my age obviously played a factor in the ability to survive it, recover, not go into cardiac arrest, I'm assuming. Um, and it's a wake up call. So for those of you that maybe don't get checked up regularly, or you got bad eating habits, please get checked up or change your eating habits, and at least be aware of the warning signs on this. I just want to say I really appreciated all the heartfelt messages that you guys sent. Think I've only got a couple hundred more to go through, but I've been going through all of them, reading them, checking them off, no matter how you reached out to me. And yeah, I received a ton of messages, really kind, awesome messages, and it was very, very heartfelt. I really appreciated that. Thank you to everybody that was wishing me well and a good recovery. Um, I couldn't read them until recently because, in the hospital, I'm sure it would have made me emotional, and my heart rate, I had to keep my heart rate kind of like under control. Um, so I'm sure a lot of you are probably like, so like, what, do you have any PTSD? Because I seem very calm about this, right? I don't think I've fully processed it yet. Seeing the statistics online does kind of like let it sink in a bit more, but I still don't think I've fully processed how close I really was to dying. And I'm sure I will process this over years and years and years for the rest of my life, honestly. Um, and really just like use this as a good opportunity to make the changes that I need to make. But I really do think it was just like weird, the stars aligning in a weird way. It just doesn't feel like something that should have happened just based off of my eating and exercise habits. I just think it was just a very extremely rare case of this form of a heart attack for my age. And it is what it is, right? I'm still here, still kicking, still playing my terrible uh, 3D platformers and janky games that nobody cares about but me, right? Like, something that kept me going was knowing that, I couldn't leave you guys without your Saturday eBay streams, and we're approaching the 15th anniversary of still not giving you guys an updated room tour. Couldn't leave you hanging with that. But does it give me any kind of like reimagining outlook on things in terms of like collecting and things like that? Honestly, I haven't thought about it too much, but I do feel like this experience has made me a bit more appreciative and almost like doubling down on my passions and things that I love, whether that's video games or other things. I do think it's going to make me get out into the world and experience things a lot more outside of the game room, get out and try and travel a little bit more, just get out into nature a bit more and just try and be more active and see things. But I do think it just makes me appreciate the things I've collected over the years, and going forward, still continuing to collect and pursue my passions, and not let anybody tell me that I shouldn't do this or I should do that differently, or try and make me feel bad about the things that I'm into and the games I like to play and the things I like to collect. Yeah, that's all just wind and noise. To me, this experience just makes me want to get into it even more and enjoy the things that I enjoy and enjoy life. And hopefully, somebody out there took something away from this video. I don't want to go on too long, but I did want to make this video for you guys because I did promise a video update. And this will be the last time that I probably ever talk about the heart attack to this extent. I don't want this to be a dead horse that gets beat over and over. So we're going to go back to normal videos talking about games, giving you guys recommendations. And I really, after reading all your guys' comments, I think I'm just going to be way less self-conscious about the videos that I'm putting out. And I'm just going to continue to be me and continue to put out the same kind of videos that I've been doing for, since 2008. So be ready for it. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit before I can get back into the full swing of things, but I'm really hoping that getting my heart cleared up gives me a renewed sense of energy and vigor and drive, because I was feeling very tired. I actually forgot to mention this in the beginning of the video. One of the symptoms was, for the past few years, I was very tired, very lethargic, taking naps in the middle of the day, like getting to 9 o'clock at night and falling asleep, and then waking up at like who knows what time, and like it had to be the heart, the lack of blood flow, the lack of oxygen. It makes sense now. So for those of you that experience lethargy in the middle of the day and you take naps that are hours long, and you just like, you wake up and you immediately just feel like you just got to go back to bed. Could be something like sleep apnea, which I probably have that too, who knows. But yeah, it makes sense now, and I'm really hoping that this experience makes a better me, the best that I've been. And I hope you guys are going to be along for the ride for that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.